What's happening, hummingbird?
Hey, B-Ray.
Ooh, I like that one. You shot me. You surprised me.
Good.
Good job. So here we are. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
Tell us who you think you are today.
Who do I think I am today? That would be a long story. But I'll tell you my name and how I serve people. How about that?
There you go. I like it. I like it.
I'm Julie Ariola, and I serve people through massage therapy and energy healing, and through having, I feel, insightful conversations like this.
Thank you for doing that, Julie.
You're welcome.
And my name is Billy Perkins, and I serve people by helping them remove the blocks and barriers that keep them from feeling okay with who they are. We return people back to their capital S self. Yeah, that's what I do it. I was going to say that's what I do. I don't do it. I show people that you can do it.
Yeah.
I'm a guide, man. I'm a guide. I'm here to guide you.
Is that a special guide voice? That's how guides talk.
I don't know what that was. I don't know what just showed up. So, last podcast, we talked about our relationship. And we wanted to sort of kind of continue without making this all about us.
Did we talk about our relationship? I guess we kind of did. I kind of thought it a bit more like, sharing some insight around making relationships a goal, and maybe that's not the best perspective to have. And in doing so, I think we shared parts of ourselves, but I don't know how much we really shared of our relationship.
Fair enough. That's fair. I felt there were certain aspects that were shared in regards to our relationship. So I think we're both right.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Well, I personally enjoy being the right one, the more right one, but I'll split it with you.
Yeah, thanks for giving me 50% rightness. So
continuing with the theme of relationship. Because, yeah. Just go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to. Just before I go ahead, I just want to point out it's a little bit later in the day. We tend to do our podcast mid-morning, I would say. So I'm just noticing and experiencing the different energy of doing an afternoon podcast right now. Do you feel different? Are you noticing anything?
I am noticing a difference. I'm not really sure what it was, if it's the time or if it's the fact that we both just devoured half of a watermelon. A small watermelon, but we did kind of just eat half a watermelon.
Huh. It's a good observation. It was a good watermelon.
Yeah, it was good. It doesn't feel like the season for watermelon quite yet. Like, it's kind of early. So I was curious, where did this watermelon come from?
What I'm curious about is, why does there have to be a season? I just want to eat watermelon.
Well, I mean, I guess that's something to take up with, God or the universe or something.
Mother Nature.
Yeah, you give Mother Nature a talking to. You ask her about that watermelon and season shit.
But on a more...
So I think we're delirious on watermelon.
Maybe. Is that possible?
Yes, it is.
I guess it is, because I'm experiencing something right now. And I just thought it was the afternoon energy of attempting to work at this time of day. Is this work?
No.
It's not work. To create something, but am I really the creator of this? I guess so.
Another podcast for another day.
I know, all of that stuff. So, bringing it back to relationship, we thought we would continue talking about relationships, both things that we've observed about relationship, as well as maybe sharing, again, a little bit of our relationship. And so the theme, if you will, the topic that we'll do our best to stick to, which we're not really doing a wonderful job of in this first 5 minutes, is finding the innocence in the action. And this is a topic that I was listening to Dr. David R. Hawkins on a bunch of YouTube videos. I kind of go through these binges of watching, Dr. Hawkins or whoever it is, and Alan Watts, Matt Kahn. We go in our little teacher binges, and he talked about this. He talked about this idea of finding the innocence of the action, and it really stuck with me. And I spent a few days like really deeply reflecting on it. And one of those days I actually happened to be driving down the Highway 78, westbound if you want to know more details. And so as I was moving westwardly on the 78, suddenly traffic started building up at a time of day where it didn't make sense to me there was traffic. And as I got a little further along, I realized, the reason there's traffic is because there was an accident. And as I got closer to the accident, I recognized that accident actually shouldn't have been impeding the traffic on the west side of the 78, because the accident actually happened on the other side of the 78.
The eastbound side.
Yes. Wow, you're good with context clues.
Deduction.
You're a real Sherlock. And so there was this moment as I was driving and finding myself getting frustrated at all these motorists, because literally every motorist in front of me, it's a it's 4 lanes wide, was slowing down. Some even coming to a complete stop to look over, right? I think we call that rubbernecking in some parts of the country. Rubbernecking this accident. And it was a horrific accident. There was a flipped over truck. Another car was slammed into the wall. It looked like the paramedics, like everything was just kind of unfolding. Everybody was getting to the scene. And I thought, my first thought was like a little bit of maybe frustration or low levels of anger, and then it occurred to me, I asked myself the question, what are you getting angry about? I'm not going anywhere. I was actually on my way home to have a phone call with Allison, the individual who was helping me edit my book. I thought, you're getting angry, and you're fine. Your timeline is open. You're in a cool spot. And then there was that other part of me, if you want to call it the ego or the asshole, I don't know what part of me you want to call that was like, but all these people are stopping, and they're looking, and they're slowing you down, and they're in your way. And in that moment, that idea of find the innocence in the action. I thought, okay, find the innocence in the action of these people. And this vision popped in my head of the Langar monkeys.
Sometimes that happens to me too. I just walking through life and suddenly Langar monkeys right in front of my face.
Right. And what I saw was, or what I recalled in that moment was, I had watched a video on YouTube, and if you YouTube it, just YouTube Langar monkeys, and it'll come up. Right? Maybe put in Langar monkeys grief or grieving, and it'll come up. And what you're going to find is a video is going to pop up, and in that video, you're going to get to see these researchers took this fake replica Langar monkey, and they put a camera in it. And they just placed it out amongst the other Langar monkeys. And just to give you a little bit of context here, Langar monkeys are the ones we usually see in old ruins, like when you see temples and things like that where the jungle's kind of overtaken them. Those monkeys that are running around, those are the Langar monkeys.
Kind of like Jungle Book?
Kind of like Jungle Book, right. And, well, it was interesting because they all became very curious, right, of what is this little monkey doing out here. And eventually one of the female monkeys approach it, and she's really distraught when she picks it up and realizes like it's lifeless, it's not moving. And
Mm-hmm.
instantly, you see her kind of drop the monkey, and she, it appears anyways, this is a story the researchers and I made up, and that is that she believes that the monkey's dead because it's lifeless. And she begins grieving the monkey. And as this mother begins grieving what she perceives as to being maybe this dead, like adolescent or baby langar monkey, slowly all the langars that are part of the community start coming over and grieving as well. They kind of pat her, they pat the monkey. Um, it's a very interesting dynamic that all these monkeys were coming over and expressing concern and condolences and having this sort of grieving process. And so going back to my situation, I realized perhaps all of the people that were on the highway in front of me weren't rubbernecking because they needed the juicy gossip or they needed to see what was going on. But what if a bigger part of their spirit, a part of themselves that they weren't even consciously aware of, was expressing concern
Mm-hmm.
for another part of themselves, right? Because essentially you and
Yeah.
I are just an extension of each other. We're the same species. We're no different than the langar monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
And here is this terrible situation of the smashed car and a flip truck. And what if it was beyond my conscious recognition? What if all that rubbernecking is more about this thing that's happening at a tribal genetic, like spirit level, if you will?
Mm-hmm.
And it helped me to really get curious. It helped me to, one, dissolve my anger and frustration completely was gone. Instead, I had this more interesting, like, wow, our ability to really, really get connected is happening so quickly, instantaneously, and we don't even always recognize it. We don't even really see it.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And I wondered in that moment as I was driving down the road and coming home, I started wondering about how cool would my life be if I were to take that concern for another being that's happening in a situation like that and bringing it into all my personal relationships. What if I brought that home and here at home with you and I were to allow myself to find that innocence in your actions and allow that bigger, part of myself to come out. And then I realized like, oh my gosh, there's parts of me that recognized it was the other way around. That I had actually been, over the last 6 years with you, learning through our trials and tribulations to like pause and allow myself to find innocence in your actions. To pause and allow myself to consider maybe what's going on right now with Julia and I. It's really not about what's going on. And there's a, do you want to say anything? Because I want to pause for a second.
Well, I was thinking about, I was thinking about a moment when we had this big fight over who knows what. I can rarely remember what we're actually ever arguing about. Because, like you said, many times it really is nothing. It's not really we're not arguing about something that's like actually what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's underlying stuff. And I remember you just seeing like, I'm not your ex.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in that moment that when you're in an argument and it's just like the world is ending and this is so bad. I don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
and you're kind of like you're being tossed and back and forth by your emotional